Hi, how you doing? I'm Dr. Singh. Some recognize me as Grandmaster Singh, Professor Singh. Um, I had those titles given to me first of all by in recognition from my students from Angel's Gym. I took over Angel's Gym in 2006 from the Angel Rivera family, and since then we were able to put together a program that integrated Taiji Chuan or internal boxing with the Western competitive aspects of boxing, kickboxing, and grappling to produce from 2006 to 2000 to present over 30 victors, 30 champions in the areas of boxing, kickboxing, and grappling, and MMA. Um, this is documented in several areas. You can check that out with the Angels Gym is registered as an accredited or sanctioned gym for in the IKF, the United States Amateur Boxing Association, and the IKF was the International Kickboxing Federation, and NAGA, okay, the North American Grappling Association, just to name a few. I'm also qualified or at least recognized by the American Tai Chi and Qigong Association for my work in Tai Chi. I'm now considered a level two of level of three instructor, professional instructor there, um, and recognized member. And they've actually reviewed my book, gave it a favorable review, which is The Art of Western Taiji Quan, which discusses the integration as a treatise for the integration of Eastern and Western concepts for competitive advantage, at least at the amateur level. And later, a revision in 2013 depicts that some internal work, stronger discussion of internal work, could be integrated in competition to allow combat athletes to be able to heal themselves, so they don't have the injuries that come about during their training, and they can actually train well into their upper to their middle age, which I do. I train 8 hours a day because of the training, and I took a sabbatical, retired from Angel's Gym so I could redevelop and work on more of this, so I could cultivate it and get this revision out for other people. My book is well read, well reviewed, and used by martial artists all over the world. I'm not very famous, but the work that I do is not for everybody. It's for individuals who are adepts and work it. My title was given to me for this and many other reasons. Not to mention, I keep my skills very high and can train with people half my age um, in the ring and work and no problem because I use these things. So I'm basically the credentials that I have on the wall are the credentials in my hands, and I put out videos regularly on this. I'm currently a student of Kadi Madama, who teaches me Taoist and Vedic breathing methods and meditation methods for healing. And I'm also studying Wing Chun formally in the Gary Lam system. And I also soon will be visiting other Wing Chun areas to get training from advanced Westerners, so I can get better at that because I happen to love what I believe is the uh, Southern version of the Supreme Ultimate Fist. I'm coming to you today about the subject of that's been brought up by some people on radio talk shows. Um, Alan Goldberg being one of them. He calls himself Master Goldberg. I'll call him Master Goldberg. He's saying that individuals who have titles such as doctor or professor or so forth are not, if they get them, it's not from an accredited institution, academic institution. Therefore, you should not be called that, and they are frauds. And the institutions that grant them are frauds. Well, he's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. He's taking the whole argument out of context. Given his argument, his title of master would be fraudulent because I did not recognize, nor do I see, and I might be wrong, but I don't see that he has any academic credentials giving him any license to teach. Academically, I have them, so I could say that, but by my standard, he does not have them. I'm sure he did get credentials professionally from in a traditional lineage way, and he says that he studied at Shaolin, and maybe he got his credentials from there, and that's fine. But that is not a United States of America institution, accredited institution. So him coming here and saying that, okay, means that by his argument, means that he's fraudulent. And of course, that's not true. He's a master. I acknowledge him as a master of it, based on his skill and his contributions to the martial art world, which is an honorary title that is given to people, and that's why he should hold it. I have the same thing, and of course, my title is even legalized to the state of California statutes for post-secondary education, which comes through the United States Grandmasters Council. Though the World Martial Arts Council is not a legal recognition, the recognition from them and the other recognition goes far beyond anything necessary. Plus, my own work, my production, my vetting, and so forth. But to call people a fraud like that is fine as long as you can back it up and prove it. His backing up is proof from academic standpoints. Well, the academic world does not acknowledge martial arts. Most academic world does not acknowledge martial arts, at least traditional, as academic or legitimate academic training or understanding or field. Of course, I have issue with that, but because I have skills. Not only have I done all the stuff I've done, but I've also advanced to the point where I've created a wooden dummy, which is for internal boxing, which of course came from my research of Western pugilistic and Eastern pugilistic skills and scholarship, my discussions with individuals, and my constant work in trying to prove the theories. This is what scholars do. This is what academics do. This is what professionals do. They work and work and work in their chosen field until they perfect it or are as good at that, better than most people, or are better than most people, period, in that area because they spend so much time in it, which of course is what PhDs do. They specialize in an area. My PhD, okay, granted to me by two institutions, and the most important one being the United States Grandmasters Council, is in internal boxing, the areas that I work in. And it's granted to me based on my academic work, my publications, which of course are in Library of Congress, unless my publication for my book is, and it actually sells, which is actually more than what most theses do for individuals who go to college. Matter of fact, a lot of the work that I have done, goes way beyond what a person doing a PhD would ever do, especially in curriculum development, which of course is my field of martial arts. I develop curriculum for this. Um, my point again is the idea of calling people, of saying these things about that. Um, People need to understand what accreditation is, what it means. I actually been a part of accreditation process, at least for the military. Accreditation is for a lot of reasons. The most important is that it is a sanctioning body. It's basically having individuals from like-minded academic institutions coming together and making standards, and having those standards acknowledged that are a level of professional competence for academic recognition. And those standards are submitted to the government, and the government, not federal government, and the federal government can now allow for students to get student loans and for institutions to get grants from the government because it meets a certain standard and they came together. At first, not all academic institutions were able to be acknowledged like that. One of the most important ones that everybody benefits from now is the academic institution of online training. A lot of online schools just were not considered academically to the same standard as traditional schools. As a matter of fact, and some of them still don't. People who get PhDs from the University of Phoenix or from Walden University, a lot of these guys, they are not allowed to teach or get teach in a tenured position or even get into school teaching at traditional schools. Does that mean that they're a PhD? They're not PhDs? Well, of course they're PhDs. They're very, very good. Okay, and some of those guys are sharper than the guys doing it. Again, at first they weren't accepted. A school's ability, besides the accreditation process, to rise up in standing and recognition is based on its alumni, what their alumni can do, where they at, where are they placed in society. An example of this is Troy University. Troy University started out as Troy State University. It was considered a third tier, if not even a fourth tier school. But because it opened up its doors in satellite schools, which of course in the academic community, a satellite school was not considered the real deal. If you didn't go to the real campus, then you weren't academically trained. Well, military cats, officers and NCOs would go to these schools to meet their academic requirements so they can get promoted in their professional areas. And Troy State opened its doors, as many other schools, Webster University did the same thing, to them, and They were accredited schools, but they weren't considered high ranking, or they weren't considered very good. Actually, some of them were even called uh, uh, paper mills, diploma mills. So Troy did this. I know back in the 80s, but definitely in the 90s, they trained their guys. They trained graduate programs, military guys in graduate schools. I'm a actual um, receiver of a satellite training program from Troy University in international relations and in education. Um, they gave it to them, and at first they weren't considered that good. But after the years, I think after like 10 years of doing it, their alumni got so good and so well placed up in government that they had to accept it. And they actually got rated, the campus got rated as a top tier school, one of the best buys by U.S. News and World Report. And now they, because of their ranking and because of their academic accomplishments, they're now called Troy University. That's an example of what accreditation is, what the old guard means, and how they try to put down other new ideas so that their idea doesn't get replaced or they don't become relics or they don't become relics. They're not seen as the past and are archived in that way. They don't want to feel irrelevant. They're the old guard. I think Alan Goldberg is trying to pull that crowd, is saying he's old guard. Okay, he's saying, I understand, I respect that. He wants to make sure there are standards. My thing is, there are standards. I'm a standard. Okay, and I'm sure that I'm not the best because my ranking is only 8th Dan, and I'm a Grandmaster at that level. And I have published and done all the stuff that I've done. I am positive there are people of higher ranking who have done more than I have. You're either older or so forth. But the bottom line is, I've done the work. I've done all the work. And the reason why the title was granted to me is so that I would do and can do more work. Okay, scholarly work that will pursue or enhance the martial art world. Alan is a Goldberg has done. I think he's done great work. He's an action. He's been out there for a long time. He knows a lot of old cats. He's I don't know if his skill level's still high. I saw some work on him on YouTube. I guess he's okay. I don't know his skill. I'd love to cross hands with him to see where his skill's at because I guess I would learn from that. But more importantly, to share that energy. Um, he obviously has done some work. He's got a published article, a published magazine publication that he puts out. He That's pretty big, action martial arts. He's on YouTube. He's done some work on radio. He is a traditional Wing Chun guy. He's recognized. He has a dojo in Brooklyn, which is really good. He has great students. I'm sure I've never heard of students, but I'm sure they're good. Um, and he's recognized by a lot of movie stars, and this is good. Okay, so he's done a lot for the business. I mean, he's promoted it, and I think that's great. But to say that his skill, and he's called master, but he doesn't have any academic credentials saying he's a master teacher. He has a license, like I do, to teach, to open a business, and to teach certain schools, and to actually, I'm sure, corner people, because the states issue licenses for that. Other than that, though, he doesn't have any other uh, academic credential to be called a master. Okay, but he is called master because in the community, in our community, if you do the things he does, he gets that honorary title. That's all that my title is. It's honorary. But of course, even with it, I still got to prove what I can do. My point of bringing all this up is I wanted to bring to bear that, it's not right. You need to really check out institutions before you say they're fraudulent, before you say they're bad, before you say they're not good for people, before you say they're paper mills. I'm going to challenge anybody to go up and first you can challenge me, vet me, look me up, make sure I'm who I say I am and done with the things I said I've done. Also, if you got a military, you can check me out in AKO and make sure I've done all that stuff. You can also, come see me, or you can just call. It's easy to do. You can Google me. Google Master Gurjot Singh on Google. You'll find all you want to know about me. The other thing is, um, you might want to Google Alan. Make sure he's good to go. Google everybody. Definitely go out and check out Call Dr. American and check out his program. Yes, he does market hard. He markets very hard for his stuff, but no more than the guys who market for online training or for even colleges that want online training. There's no more than that. Okay, as I was mentioning before, the online guys, they weren't considered accredited until they brought themselves together. And I believe it was in the 2000s, the 21st century, they finally got an online entity that allowed them to be accredited and to get subsidies from the government and to be granted. That's how that worked. Okay, but at first they weren't considered really legitimate, and by some institutions they're still not considered legitimate. Okay, they're barely considered legal, but they still produce great people, and some of these people do great work. Okay, um, and that was my point. Not putting as martial artists, we shouldn't be putting down, okay, other institutions we really don't know anything about. Now, if somebody went to my institution, any one of them, and found they were a paper mill or they were a diploma mill, and they could prove it, they sent in false documents and they sent in false stuff, and they had false people make claims that they had done the things they had done, and under those false things, they were received their degree, and they can prove that, then outstanding. They should be sued. But if you haven't done that, and you haven't gone out there and done that, and actually lied and done that, then you're wrong. And here's another thing too. If you did do that, you're the one actually being illegal. Because just because you get a degree in medicine, just because you get a degree in education, doesn't mean you can go out and teach. In order for you to teach professionally, you got to get a license. Okay? And so does that mean that the academic, what means the license more important than the academic degree, or is the academic degree more important than the license? Who cares? You go through the process, you do it, your credentials are in your hands. If you're good, you're good. And that's my point. Okay, so I put this out to anybody out there, and I wanted to make sure everybody knows about it. I'm open to discussion on all of this, but I want to make sure guys who are backtracking because they're trying to use the criteria of academic accreditation for their titles, okay, that's bullcrap. Because that's the case, almost every person who teaches martial arts who doesn't have a degree in education, okay, should be called a fraud. And of course, that's not true. So especially if you got master. If you can call the master, you should at least go on and got yourself at least an undergrad degree in teaching. And if you didn't do that, well, if you're looking by my standard, you're professionally inept. You should know how to teach professionally. Okay, you should go to an academic school. But if you haven't done that, okay, I guess by Alan Goldberg standards, you're a fraud. I don't want to go there. I don't agree with that. By that standard, that's a terrible way of thinking because, of course, our area is sanctioned by our people. Our governing bodies, our academic entities are in the martial arts field. We're professionals, and we basically show our credentials in our hands, and we recognize how our contributions, by our martial art contributions, by our hard work, our publications, the people we produce, and the students we produce. On that note, I wanted to put that out there to my people and to the people at large, and I really thank you for listening. And of course, I invite any kind of comments. Have a nice day.